he released a bombshell of a statement the other day. It is a prayerful, considered statement. It's one in his series of letters that he's been writing to the faithful, not only in his diocese, former diocese now, not even only to the United States, but around the world. He addresses in there often priests and bishops and the Pope as well, but calling to conversion. But this message, this was so stunning because some of the things he said in here were just unreal. He basically warned of apostasy at the top of the church from Pope Francis. He points to Pope Francis talking about this equality of all religions and stuff like this and saying how dangerous this is. But then he quotes what's known about the third secret of Fatima. He doubts the full secret was released, as many people do, as many Fatima experts do. He quotes Cardinal Chiappi. So Cardinal Chiappi was an advisor to 5 different popes. He talked about the third secret as containing a warning that apostasy in the church is going to start at the top. That's very scary. It's also, he quotes in there, Padre Pio. Padre Pio, of course, the great mystic who died in 68 and was most famous for having the stigmata and all sorts of miracles attached to him, especially after 1960, you'd see giving into a false church. These are stunning warnings. Bishop Strickland also says he doesn't think that the Fatima consecration was done exactly as Our Lady requested. He's saying a lot of things, but he's pointing to this apostasy at the top of the church, which I think is evident for anybody who's paying any attention. It reminded me of number 675 in the 92 Catechism that talked about, in the end, there will be a religious deception that comes over the world that people will latch onto at the expense of the truth. And I just thought it was a stunning letter. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Father.
Yeah, it was stunning. Yes, I did. And I read it. I read it carefully. And I have great respect for Bishop Strickland. Much. I think he's a fine man, an outstanding bishop, and a man of God. I really believe that. I want to tell you, I want to add on to what he said. And this is from a different source, but I think it's very supportive of the statement that he made. You know that I wrote a book called The Godmother on Mother Pasqualina, right? And they were in that book are conversations with Mother Pasqualina. One of the conversations that I had with her was about an apparition that Pius XII in 1954. This is a private vision, a private apparition. You can believe it, you can not believe it. It doesn't matter. She believed it. The Pope told her all about it. He was walking in the Vatican gardens and just froze. And he told her later, when he came back into the apostolic palace, that he was graced with a vision of the dancing sun of Fatima. What happened in Fatima in 1917, he saw. It was repeated for him. And I'm listening to this, and she was telling it, with the enthusiasm. This is an old woman now. She's about 78, and not so old, but about 78 or almost 80. And she's telling it with the enthusiasm of almost of a young girl excited about something. She relived it. And she said he was so excited to tell, and he went into detail about the whole vision that he just experienced. And she said, I asked him, did you see the Blessed Mother? Did she appear to you? Did she say something to you? Was there any message? And the Holy Father, Pope Pius XII, said, only one word came to him. Now, how it came to him, I don't know. Did somebody say it? Was apostasy. Right now, Mother Pasqualina told me this herself. She said, after he told me that, she said, I was a little bit embarrassed because I wasn't exactly sure what apostasy meant. Right? Well, who talked about apostasy in the 1950s? Are you kidding? All we were doing was building. We were just building because we couldn't contain all of the religious vocations we had, the seminaries, the schools, everything was building. Apostasy was the last thing you would hear about. But she said she went to a dictionary to look up apostasy and got the meaning of it. And she found that shocking, shocking. And it had nothing to do with the context of the church at that time. As a matter of fact, everything was on the rise. Fulton J. converting I don't know, 500,000 people to the Catholic faith. This, that, and the other. Everything was positive. And yet, the only thing that he took from the vision that he had of the son of Fatima, of that miracle replayed for him, he was certain, was the word apostasy. So when I read this, and I've read it from different sources later on of Padre Pio, well, let me say one thing also about Padre Pio for those who maybe don't know him or doubt somewhat of his importance. Pope Pius XII did nothing serious without first consulting with Padre Pio.
Wow. And maybe that's why, because in his message, Bishop Strickland quotes Pius XII, but Pius XII, before he became Pope, he says this, he says, the future Pope Pius XII, 31 years before the beginning of the Second Vatican Council, spoke these words, and I'll quote them for you. He says, I am worried by the Blessed Virgin's messages to little Lucia of Fatima. This persistence of Mary about the dangers which menace the Church is a divine warning against the suicide of altering the faith in her liturgy, her theology, and her soul. Then he said, I hear all around me innovators who wish to dismantle the sacred chapel, destroy the universal flame of the Church, reject her ornaments, make her feel remorse for her historical past. A day will come when the civilized world will deny its God, when the Church will doubt as Peter doubted. She will be tempted to believe that man has become God. In our churches, Christians will search in vain for the red lamp where God awaits them. Like Mary Magdalene weeping before the empty tomb, they will ask, where have they taken him?
I wanted to mention those things. Take them into account when you read Bishop Strickland. And if you think that he's off base, just remember those two things. The apparition of Pius XII, the apparition that he received in the Vatican Gardens in 1954. And the only word that came through was apostasy. And also that the Holy Father, Pius XII, did nothing serious, including the dogma of the Assumption. He asked Padre Pio, not only took into account the bishops of the world's opinion, but he specifically asked Padre Pio his thoughts on that matter and his vote on that matter. So it was serious. These are serious considerations, and I think what Bishop Strickland is writing is true.
Yeah, well, on the nature of apostasy, it's from the Greek words apostasis, meaning being far away or furthest away, in this case from God. And Bishop Strickland's letter charges that to our political system, as he says, the Vatican and influential organizations around the world, which he says are directed by no less than the hand of Satan, the Prince of Darkness. So it's an extremely serious charge, but it's one that I make myself and various other commentators, obviously Archbishop Vigano as well, have pointed out that the spiritual crisis and the political crisis are one and the same, and they reduce to the actions of Satan. He says our national political system, the Vatican, and too many influential organizations around the world are engaged in a program that is nothing short of the 21st century betrayal of Jesus Christ and his church. Like the betrayal of Judas Iscariot almost 2,000 years ago, this present-day betrayal is emanating even from those at the very heart of the church and the state. He ends this paragraph by saying, we must acknowledge that one evil hand is moving all of these disparate forces, and that it is no less than the hand of Satan, the Prince of Darkness. And these are extremely strong words. But in my summary of the history of the liberal idea, and also of the existence of what you would call ideological bureaucracies, including the church, whose chief function appears to be to use their vestigial integrity, if you like, their social power, to promote a global agenda that is nothing short of a death cult. It is difficult to dismiss Strickland's analysis in the political or theological realm. I agree with him entirely. And I think this is an extremely important document. And I think it should be taken extremely seriously because it describes most accurately the omni-crisis we inhabit, which is an attack on our very civilization itself. And I would like to stress that Western civilization was founded by the Catholic Church between the 9th and 12th centuries. And it is this foundation that this system seeks to destroy.